a foundation inspector is about to spec this house. And guess what? It's my house. Oh man, how's this gonna turn out for me? Hi, I'm Special Agent Gary, and I help buyers and sellers in the Corpus Christi region. Well, with me today is Eric Rodriguez. He's the owner of Paramount Foundation Repair. Eric, thank you for coming on my YouTube channel.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having us.
Okay, we're going to help some people out understand the process of a foundation inspection, buyers and both sellers. Now, so Eric, what kind of training does a foundation inspector need?
Well, the foundation inspector, essentially what you want to have some grasp of the construction of a house. For me, particularly, I did have a lot of drafting courses, and I was an architect major at one point in my college career. And after that, it was quite a bit of online or in-person training, that we did in the Dallas area with another foundation repair company that essentially trained me through engineers on how to measure a house, what to look for, what measurements to take, what damages actually mean, and what kind of picture or story they're telling. So that's, the type of training that you typically get in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like, you can get your training in classrooms, but there's no substitute for on-the-job training and actually doing the job, right?
Right, there's no substitute, because you get to see houses in their form and their shape of what it needs, and every house is different, so we get an opportunity to look at what typically movement does to a house, and where it's seasonal movement, and what actually movement does to a house when it actually needs work.
One thing I want to point out is in my job as a real estate agent, normally it's the buyer or the seller. One of my clients is going to be making the call for any inspections. Normally, if I'm there on an inspection, I'm there to open the door. I kind of off to the side, but since Eric is actually inspecting my own home, I'm going to be right here with him. Normally, I would be kind of out of the way. That's between the client and the inspector. So this is equipment that you actually use for this elevation survey.
Right, this is called a zip level, and it's from Technity, and essentially it works like a water level. And what we're going to do is we typically place this on a hard surface, and it works like a water level, and we'll do an elevation, usually a starting point, which I typically use the front door, and every house typically, some houses are different. I'll place my starting point at one of the corners of the house, one of the corners of the door, I should say, and that'll be a starting point. And again, this is our 1/10 of an inch. So from here, we can go from place to place, and it'll give us the elevation difference between the original place to the new place. Okay.
So on your screen, what are you actually seeing?
In my screen, we're actually seeing on the starting point would be 0.0. So that'll be the base point or the starting point. And then we'll move this module to the next corner or to the next area we want to measure, and it'll give us an elevation reading in plus or minus, depending on are we going uphill or downhill.
Okay. So we'll do the starting point, and then let's see if I have any high or low places in my house. There's a reason that we hire experts to do inspections. I can come in and say, well, that's a foundation issue, or how do I know? How does the buyer know? Things like this, these cracks above the doorway here, Eric, is that an indication of a foundation issue or something else?
It's not necessarily a foundation issue. It is an issue of movement. Now, is that movement seasonal movement going between the wet seasons and dry seasons as as the soil expands and contracts, our slabs slowly move up and down. Sometimes you do have cracks like this indicating the movement. It's not always an indication of foundation settlement to the point where you need foundation repair work. Now, the elevations, fortunately, in this room are relatively level, and this is just a typical crack due to seasonal movement. As this side of the front wall or this flooring goes down, as the slab goes down, this door frame will shift downward, and then you'll get a crack. But after it rains or you do some watering program is there, the soil reabsorbs the moisture, swells, and lifts it back up. And sometimes you do have this crack, it's still there, but it's not always an indication that you need foundation repair. That these type of cracks are indications of seasonal movement.
Okay, so we're outside now in the driveway area and breezeway area, and I wanted to ask Eric about this right here. This portion of the concrete over the years has come down, where this is my breezeway here. They were more level with each other. So, what's going on with this area?
Well, this breezeway is part of the original slab. It's called a monolithic slab. It's poured one continuous pour. That's the garage, the breezeway, and the main house. What you have here is a non-monolithic. It's a patio slab that was poured afterwards, and it's typically 4 to 6 inches thick. And this type of slab, without any beams going down deep into the soil, is more prone to movement. And with the typical seasonal movement you have down here, you're going to have these come up and come down. And typically driveway slabs, patio slabs do and have this type of movement where they begin to settle. Usually it's soil erosion underneath there, typically because of rain and our normal typical seasonal movement.
So as far as repair, I mean, what can you do about a situation like this?
Situation like this, you could either do two methods, either a foam injection, a polyurethane foam injection that lifts the slabs back into place, or it'll be a remove and replace.
Okay. We're outside. When you're inspecting on the outside of a house and you see something like this, if I'm a buyer, do I say I'm walking away from this? Or what is going on right here?
Basically, it's called spalling. It's when the outer surface of the concrete begins to flake off. And typically, the way you repair this is to knock off the concrete that's flaking off, and you repair it. You repair with some new concrete that you're going to put on the outside with some adhesives that helps the new concrete bond to the old concrete.
Okay.
But it's something that's pretty typical down here in South Texas, and it is repairable.
So you were seeing this, and you would say this is not a deal breaker.
There shouldn't be a deal breaker now.
Okay, Eric, you've done the elevation survey of my house. What are the results?
Okay. Well, the results are, of course, we do these elevations in 10ths of an inch, and again, just to kind of bring it back a little bit, we start at the front door, which is we set our starting point or our zero for these elevations, and these elevations again are in 10ths of an inch. So anytime plus or minus 5/10 of an inch, minus 5/10 of an inch, then it's a ½ inch low. Minus an inch, minus 1.0 is an inch lower than the base. So essentially, the elevation gradually going to this back corner right behind you, you're looking at a 2.1 inch difference. It's sloping downward in a 2.1 inch difference, and it also bears. There's a tile crack right on the floor. There's some drywall cracks here. There's some cracks outside that indicate that the outside damages plus the inside damages plus the elevations do kind of they agree with each other, and which is the elevations that are sloping down this way in this area.
Okay, would you consider this a serious problem, or?
Once you go beyond an inch and a half, you start going to 2.1 inches down, then it's time to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to have an inspection. I mean, I kind of knew that there was some sloping. I just didn't know precisely how much. Thank you again for helping people understand what goes into a foundation inspection, coming out to inspect my house. Now, buyers, this is money well spent. It's very reasonable to get an inspection, and that way you have peace of mind. But, a lot of people that are thinking about selling your house, you want to get pre-listing inspections, like for instance, a foundation inspection. Why would that be important for a seller? I mean, usually they expect the buyer to get that inspection done.
Well, if you do a pre-listed inspection, then there are no surprises. Going in whether your house needs work or if it doesn't need work. And if it doesn't need work, you can get a letter essentially stating that in our opinion it doesn't need work, which will sometimes it'll give a buyer a sense of ease going into it and walking in knowing that it's been checked and doesn't need it. And if it does need work, then you could put it in the budget whether or not you're going to do the work or negotiate it into the contract.
Yeah, just like that area outside the foundation we just looked at, that's something that could be repaired by a seller. Then you don't have someone thinking, oh, I don't want this house, it's got problems. Should a buyer be okay with a house that has previous foundation repair?
I think so, because you're not dealing with the unknown of purchasing a house and then within a year or 2 years or 5 years needing foundation repair. You're actually going to a house that's already had it done, and most companies like mine do offer lifetime warranties on this slab foundation repair.
Yeah.
So you're going into a house that already has it done, so that headache is already dealt with.
Let me tell you, one of my buyers was looking at a house, and it had previous inspection done, and Eric came out, and because of Eric's inspection, that made the difference in deciding where this buyer was going to make an offer on this house, and she went ahead and did based on Eric's inspection. So it's very important to have it done. It is money well worth spent, and it's really not that expensive to have inspection done. So I hope this helps you. And speaking of help, Eric's just the same way. My main commission is helping you.